Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Savage Goose Show, where we talk about all things Savage Worlds from the past week. Today, I am joined by Kyle Carty of BPB Games. Hi,
Hello,
Kyle.
everybody. How are you?
All right, we're going to be talking about his Kickstarter for BPB Games later in the show. But first, as always, we're going to start with the newsletter. So first things, this is the newsletter from Pinnacle Entertainment Group. There is a big, a whole bunch of like big upgrade bundles are going on right now for Savage Worlds. These are pretty. Looking these over, these are pretty good values that you can get for like just head over to Pickle's website and grab these. The first one is just like the Ultimate Game Master bundle. You get the core rule book, you get the Superhouse Companion, the Fantasy Companion, the Horror Companion. You get all the companions, the core rule book, the player's book. I think it's called the World Builder and Game Master's Guide. I think maybe just a setting book. I don't know about the Game Master's Guide. Nothing about it. But you also get the accessories box. So you get the pawn some what's it called? You get the status tokens, you get the bennies, you get action deck, you get the a whole bunch of different stuff in the accessory box, and that all comes in for $289. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the five main books, plus the other stuff that you get in this, all for $289.
It's a great deal. Even just the archetype cards that they're putting in for free, those are invaluable if you just want to sit down and play a game really fast. They are some of the best pre-gens that I've seen in pretty much any tabletop game.
Yeah. We use them. I've used them quite a bit for like I said, like running like random games. Like, hey, let's just play a quick one shot. We're not going to design characters. Just here you go. So one sheets, especially because usually one sheets don't come with pre-gens, so those art type cards come in handy, and it gives you a lot more variety for the players to choose from than just like the 5 or 6 pre-gens that usually come with a single adventure. You also can get the smaller bundle. You get the core rule books in print, and you also get the Savage World accessory box. And is that print and PDF? Is it? It's intended for everyone. James was like, yeah, let's double check this bundle. I don't fully understand it. Then you get the Battle Pawn box, which is several of their all the companion pawns. So you get the fantasy pawns, the horror pawns, the science fiction pawns, and the power pawns. And then you also get the East Texas University Study Abroad pawns, Deadlands Red West Blood Drive pawns, Necessary Evil pawns, and the Deadlands Lost Colony pawns. So if you like having the pawns for your games, which is what I like to have, I use quite a bit of those like cutout die-cast pawns, either from Pinnacle or from
other sources.
Paizo. Yeah, Paizo is usually the other one I get because Savage Pathfinder, and so I use those pretty much every single game, and they are great to have. That is honestly, that's what like of all the deals that are going on, this is the one I'd probably be actually interested in because I think of all of these, I actually only have the fantasy ones. Honestly, I have the.
If you're a pawn player, then it's a good deal. Like I'm very much a minis guy. I like to paint meticulously as a hobby, so I'm not super pawn compatible, but they are excellent for con games. I'll say this: you can move a lot.
I want them for something
really fast.
Yeah, I'd say I definitely like minis. I like printing minis. But when I can't find the right mini, it's nice to have the pawns available. Or if I haven't printed that mini yet, it's nice to have just those pawns there. So. All right, so that's going on. And then I'm gonna be honest, the rest of these, I'm pretty sure every single other announcements for like maybe one of them is just about Kickstarters. So we'll get into Kickstarters.
I'm pretty sure.
This one's about the Carrying Crown Adventure Path for Savage Pathfinder. Take a look at it. I did a whole entire stream a couple weeks back about all the different Kickstarters going on. There's gonna be the Carrying Crown set. You also get the pawns for Carrying Crown that are actually, I believe, from Pinnacle, or sorry, from Paizo. There is a 20% off Halloween sale over on Foundry for Savage Worlds content. So if you are using Foundry, which I think is, I feel like it's probably the one I would use, either Foundry or Fantasy Grounds for a VTT. Not that I have to use one right now. I'd probably go with one of those two. But there's a whole bunch of stuff that's on discount from Savage Worlds, from Pinnacle over on Foundry. So go check that out if you want to get
all some over stuff. It.
Yeah, get over it. Also, have a happy Halloween. And you're looking for some completely free frights. There's some one-sheet adventures for Deadlands to Weird Wars, a whole bunch of different one sheets that are free over on Pickle's website. If you didn't know, like there is actually quite a few pieces of free content over on Pickle's website for Savage Worlds. So if you want to go grab some stuff, there's a bunch of one sheets. There's several other like pieces of stuff that you can get there digitally, of course. You should check out. Yeah. Licensee Spotlight. We have Beacon Island for Savage Worlds from Pear Tree Studios, which is I talked to Pete Saloom last week about this project. Go check that out. The artwork.
It's very cool. I think I saw Pete in the chat, and I'm allowed to talk to chat, right? Like that's permissible, Goose. Excellent. Pete, your interior layout is so good for Beacon Island. Like it is extremely cash. I am extremely jealous because that looks so good.
But you know who does his layout, yeah?
No.
Oh, okay. We talked about this last week. Like Pete, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure this is correct. I'm pretty sure I remember talking about this, and that is that I believe Carl Kiesler did his layout.
Ooh.
So, wow. Which, in my opinion, Carl does the best layouts. Every time I see good layouts, I'm like, oh, I bet that's Carl, and then it ends up being Carl.
He's definitely up there.
Actually, Carl, we'll get to this later, but Carl did the layout in this project, part 2, which part of the reason I got this in the first place because I thought the layout just looked so good.
Yeah, I haven't even seen that. That looks fascinating.
We'll talk about this a little bit later. Yeah, Carl Kiesler. There we go. Yes, Carl's on layout and Chad Dress for this project. Yeah, cool. Yeah, perfect. Yeah, and then something else there. Cool. But yeah, so check that out. We'll talk about this a little bit later in the Kickstarter section. But also, hey, Savage Hunter for funding.
I've never seen this before in my life. Yeah,
no, never.
I'm unfamiliar with this one.
This logo is completely new to me. I've never seen this project before, this company before. What kind of craziness is this?
We can gloss over that one.
Yeah, let's go super over that. Licensing Spotlight, Chronicles for Aerith for Savage Worlds. I actually don't really know much about this particular project. From what I can tell, Chronicles of Aerith is I think they have another project or some other set like Chronicles of Aerith for a different system, but I'm not quite sure. I need to email the creator back to hopefully schedule some time. He is in the UK, so time differences can be tough. Yeah. But hopefully we can figure out time to do that. I might have to just stream early or something. But hopefully, otherwise, go take a look at this. It is kickstarting right now, and then our current crowdfunding reports of everything that's going on. I am waiting for all of this stuff.
Pinnacle has been busy, to say the least.
Yeah, have
been busy,
and I keep backing stuff. So now I will say I didn't get the board game. I just got the RPG book, which is a little silly because it needs the Necessary Evil stuff, and I don't have Necessary Evil stuff. So I will have to.
Definitely interesting. I think the concept is one of the fresher takes on a super powered story.
Yeah,
in tabletop.
I think it's just that my players don't seem very interested in playing superheroes. I'm definitely
for everybody.
Yeah, so I'm interested, but whatever. But yeah, that's the newsletter. Let's head back on over to the slide deck here. Real quick, some new products to talk about. First thing, launching Tuesday, November 25th, is the Crystal Heart graphic novel that is utilizing throughout the novel. You are going to see Savage Worlds mechanics because they are playing in the novel. They are playing a Savage Worlds game in their setting called Crystal Heart. Crystal Heart is its own TTRPG setting for Savage Worlds. You can go and get a product of. But in this is a webcomic that was turned into a graphic novel by Dark Horse Comics. So this is coming from a reputable brand. I believe either Aaron or Aviv works for Dark Horse. So either as an artist, I believe it's Aviv.
Aviv is the artist. Aaron is the writer.
So
I actually worked with them back in Savage Tokusatsu. Our Kickstarters launched around the same time for the Crystal Heart setting. This is not one to miss, y'all. Yeah. This is a very fun comic with a very cool setting.
And not to mention, if you want someone to learn how to play Savage Worlds, they're like, I don't want to learn to play Savage Worlds. Okay, well, just read this webcomic that's in a print form.
Silly little comic book.
Yeah, and you'll learn how to play Savage Worlds. The one convention I've ran so far, I printed out their 2-page comic about how to play Savage Worlds, and that's what I gave out to people to learn. So they've definitely benefited the Savage Worlds community a lot. This product is going to be in Barnes and Nobles and Amazon and everything, and we're going to see, and that means that Savage Worlds logo is going to be out there for people to pick up, and they're going to hopefully read this comic and be like, oh, now I know how to play Savage Worlds, and I want to play Savage Worlds, and the community just grows.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers
We need more people playing more diverse role-playing games.
Yeah, and Savage Worlds already by in its own right is so diverse in settings. So, all right, there's a couple other products I do want to mention though that came up. This is from the Savage Worlds Adventures Guild. Both these products are one is Star Merchants Trading the Void. This is for the Void Runner setting, which is quite a few products out there for Void Runners from James Abendroth. So if you're interested in that setting and there's I believe there's a new adventure for it, take a look at that. And the other one I want to pull out is Small Cases, the Dire Tenant one sheet for City Guard Chronicles. If you've been watching the show, you know that I love City Guard Chronicles. I particularly like their full length adventures. They're small. I have run a few of their small cases. I haven't run many of them, but whenever I see a City Guard Chronicles product come out, it is pretty much an instant buy for me. So it's only 50 cents. One sheet for City Guard Chronicles. I recommend getting the one of the other adventures though. It has a lot more of the details of the world and everything, so you can get a better feel for it and some of the edges and the way that it's supposed to feel essentially. So take a look at that. All right, Kickstarters. There's a lot.
It's been busy.
Dust We Inherit ends tomorrow, Wednesday, October 29th. This is a sci-fi game. Again, I'm not going to go deep into any of these. Go check out my other videos. I've talked about like all the Kickstarters going on. But sci-fi game ends tomorrow. Check that out. The Secret World will end on Saturday, November 8th. This is for the hardcover print run and as well as a few other products they're going to print, like do an offset print run of a whole bunch of different things for this setting. Check that out. The Carrying Crown, the horror adventure path essentially for Pathfinder for Savage Worlds. Getting that treatment. If you're interested in running that, go back it. The only reason I would say I'm more interested in running this than I am in Crimson Throne, but I am still on book. We're just about to hit book 5 of our Rise of the Rune Lords campaign.
Oh, you're almost done.
We're almost done, but I'm like, I'm so ready to play a different setting. Like, it's not that I don't like Pathfinder. It's just that I have so many other settings I want to play. I'm like, I want to play this. I want to play this. I want to play this. And
that is the burden of role playing is 1,000 cool ideas and stuff you want to play with.
Yeah, and I'm not even just talking about like stuff in Savage Worlds. Like, I'm just talking about just stuff in Savage Worlds. I'm not even talking about things outside Savage Worlds.
Oh yeah.
All right, Scarred Lands ends on Saturday, November 15th. As I've mentioned before, I'm excited for this one because it is a setting that's been around for quite a long time, and it's kind of, I think the setting itself is kind of like gone through the ages and it's gone through the test of time and it's survived. And now it's being brought to Savage Worlds. Looking at the monster designs, they are going to be some tough monsters. This is going to be a tough setting, so look forward to that. And just kind of like see, like almost think, I think it's going to be like a higher power level fantasy, essentially, like even higher than I imagine it's going to be a little bit higher power level than even such Pathfinder is. So yeah, we'll see.
We'll see.
Beacon Island from our friend Pete Saloom. He ends on Thursday, November 20th. Check it out. I'm super excited for getting some 90s nostalgic gaming in. Kyle, are you a millennial too?
I am. I'm 35.
Okay,
so
you're right.
Yeah, I'm pretty young, but I'm an absolute sucker for like the Scooby-Doo vibe and like the juvenile horror age range, like middle grade horror. I think that's one of the more creative forms of horror because of the constraints. And Beacon Island checks all those boxes for me, honestly.
Yeah, I say one of my favorite movies of all time is Super 8.
It's a good one. It's a good flick.
Hey, Savage Hunter ends on Thursday, November 20th. We're going to talk about this more though in a bit. Just wait. We're going to do the Kickstarters. Yeah. Chronicles of Air for Savage Worlds. This started today and will end on November 18th. So if you're interested in that, please go check it out. It's going to be over there. Again, I don't know much about the setting yet. I needed to read. I haven't had a chance to read through the Kickstarter to really get a lot of feel for it. So once I do, I'll let you know. And hopefully we can get the creator on to talk about it in a future live stream.
Could be nice.
Starting on Tuesday, November 4th, is Heart of Glass, which is a Street Wolves mystery. Speaking of nostalgia and stuff, there's thing about this thing, even though I didn't grow up in the time period that Street Wolves takes place, there's something about that like late 80s, early 90s vibe that I am just really intrigued by. And Street Wolves is on that list of like settings I really been wanting to play like after I'm done with our Savage Pathfinder game.
I only heard about it for the first time when I was looking at the video description for this stream, Street Wolves, and I looked at it, and that's another one where it's like the graphic design is so slick. Oh my god, there's so much stuff out here, and I know almost none of it, but it's so clean.
I mean, he did a great job making this book. I'll say that. He did do an offset print run. I think he's looking into maybe doing a print on demand afterwards once he runs out of product. But
offset is a big bite to
it was
swallow, especially right now.
It's a nice book though. I'm glad I have it.
Incredible.
Man, I keep pulling out books and I have to put them back at some point. All right. So that's coming out. Look forward to that. This month's monthly Ace or swag licensee, depending on how I'm feeling that month, is Sidewinder Recoil. This is the last. We've been talking about this. We've been talking about this all month. This is your West game that's not weird. If you're looking for a more historically accurate or maybe more like spaghetti Western type feeling game, this is going to be the book to pick up. Not Deadlands. If Deadlands is all that good weird West stuff with some like, you got weird science and you have monsters and everything. This is just your standard like Western genre game. You can play it in two different eras, either the early like frontier discovery era or the like there's some towns established on the frontier and now you're mining. So that's the two options you have. We've talked about a few different things in this book. This week I wanted to mention some of the setting rules. And the setting rules they have a lot of commentary on some of the setting rules that you would assume in Savage Worlds and in some of the ways that like you might do a dramatic task or networking or things like that. But it also introduces some of its own setting rules. I'm just trying to pull it up here. Should have like bookmarked it. One of the things it talks about is that I think is interesting. It has the gritty damage rule, but it also has this thing called deafening gunfire. Guns are loud, and they have a rule that kind of helps you evoke that sense that, hey, guns are loud and they can have damage. And so it's one of the things that you can do is like if there is a situation where there's a lot of loud gunfire, you roll a vigor roll, the GM calls for a vigor roll, and that can cause like fatigue or even the hard of hearing hindrance if you have repeat exposure. I think specifically it's if you critically fail, you get the hard of hearing hindrance. There's also some rules for misfires, and there is some rules. What's the thing for showdowns? Showdowns is the specific thing that they deal with a lot in both the adventure that they made for like kind of like there's like a free I think it's free rule set for doing showdowns in like a tournament style showdown. One of the interesting things they do with showdowns is that they have wound cap, but the wound cap is actually larger it's actually a 5 wound cap when doing tournaments. So when doing those kind of things, you basically have a higher degree of possibility of dying, and whereas you could take up to 5 wounds, which means you need to soak at least 2 to not be incapacitated.
Interesting.
So if you're interested in a normal Western game, I'm going to put normal in the quotes here. A normal, more normal Western game. Sidewinder Recoil is going to be the one for you from Doghouse Rules. They make really good products. You've probably seen a lot of other products around the web. Things like Dust Bunnies and Trailer Park Shark Attack. So take a look at that. They come in the GM book and the player's book, which I have back here. I don't know if you can see it. It's off screen.
The gritty cowboy realistic setting is the Trailer Park Shark Attack people.
Yeah.
Talk about opposite ends of the spectrum. I love that.
It's also you also got Dust Bunnies too, which is about literally dust bunnies under the couch. So
I mean, listen, do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life. That's so funny. That dichotomy. I love that.
Yeah, I mean that's the beauty of Savage Worlds, that you can have that dichotomy and it still works,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
I talk about this quite a bit. Whenever I talk about Savage Worlds and talk about the extremes that you can have in Savage Worlds, it's like, well, you have dust bunnies, and then you have like things like Battle Lords, which is like super gritty sci-fi with a lot of extra rules around it, or like rifts or whatever. So yeah, um, yeah. So let's see here. Moving on, let's talk about Savage Hunter. I keep saying Savage Hunt, and I apologize.
It's okay. People
We're
called it
going on a
Savage
Savage Hunt.
Tonkatsu forever when I did Savage Tokusatsu. Like, it's fine.
I mean, I do like Tokatsu.
I love tonkatsu. I actually had tonkatsu earlier today.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
I had tonkatsu the first time ever when I was in Japan,
Mm.
and then I came back and I had tonkatsu here. I'm like, oh, this is
It's
fine.
not the same.
It's not the same. I also had like the best ramen of my life in Japan. I'm like,
Oh yeah, I mean it's hard to beat. It's hard to beat.
So, and we've had like a lot of good ramen places here in Pittsburgh. So,
Mm.
anyways, so yeah, we're going to talk today about Savage Hunter for Savage Worlds from BPB Games. If you have any questions, sorry, if you have any questions along the way, please leave them in the chat, ask away, and I'll try to incorporate them in as I see fit, as it makes sense. But let's go ahead, and I'm going to kind of reintroduce. If you're just joining us, we are joined today by Kyle Carty, who's from BPB Games. So if I removed him instead of the screen, there we go. And we're going to talk about Savage Hunter and what's all in this product.
Sure.
This is going on at Kickstarter right now, so if you're interested, go check it out. Kyle, let's just start with, what is your elevator pitch for Savage Hunter? If someone's like, hey, why should I play Savage Hunter? What do you tell them?
Savage Hunter fulfills that childhood urge of like fighting a monster in a video game and then turning it into a weapon to fight an even cooler monster. That's my elevator pitch for Savage Hunter. You get to turn monsters into weapons to fight bigger monsters.
Okay. And what is there a particular thing that's your inspiration for this product?
No, this is a completely legally distinct product. There is no inspiration for this. But the actual answer to that is like, it's not going to be what people expect. When I was a kid, I had a Dragon Quest player's guide for like Dragon Warrior 1, 2, and 3. And it had pictures of like the armor, and some of the armor in the strategy guide was crafted from monsters from the strategy guide. And as a kid, I became obsessed with the concept of like making armor out of a monster and gaining special abilities from that monster. And then, the more obvious example being I played a lot of Monster Hunter on the PS2, like a lot of Monster Hunter. But there is a lot more DNA in this game than just that franchise.
Right.
I'd say more of it comes back to that Dragon Quest desire as a child. And then aesthetically, I've always just really liked Copper Age, Paleolithic kind of aesthetics. And so I brought that into it as well to sort of push it a little bit further.
Gotcha. I'm definitely more of a Bronze Age person personally, but
well, the Bronze Age was certainly more common. The Copper Age was so specific.
All right, so as we go, we're going to go into a whole bunch of details here, but I will kind of preface the rest of this conversation saying that I have never played Monster Hunter. I've never played Dragon Quest.
Okay.
That being said, I have played in a Monster Hunter inspired. I think I was gonna direct like a rip off Monster Hunter like 5e game once. And I basically, as I was playing, I was like, everyone's like something about shooting things from your hand to grapple onto certain like anchor bugs. I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about, but okay. So everyone else at the table knew what I was talking about or knew what was going on. And I'm like, I have no idea what's happening at all.
Yeah. There's this phenomena that, do you mind if I vamp a little bit?
Yeah, go.
Okay, sick. There's this phenomena that's a real bugbear for me, which is I call it the Pokemon role-playing game problem, where anytime you ask for like, oh, what's like a game I could play to play Pokemon as a tabletop role-playing game? all of the Pokemon games, when I was trying to find a system for it that were trying to emulate Pokemon, took what the computer does and tried to make the players, the real human players, do all of that calculation. Like, I don't want to have to roll the die, add my stat, add the modifier, add my attack stat, then subtract their defense stat,
Right.
and then subtract that from HP after doing the resistance like multipliers. I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
A computer does that. And that's why it works in the video game. When you take video game design philosophy, like one-to-one, and try to adapt it into a tabletop setting, it's not going to work. It's the same reason why certain comic books don't work well as movies, and certain movies don't work well as comic books, or certain books don't work well as movies. You have to adapt something to the medium that you are working in. Adaptation is not the enemy. In fact, it is like a necessary part of making something good. And that's what I'm approaching. So there's no like wire bugs or this has to be good by itself for people like yourself who have never played a game like this.
Right.
Otherwise, what's the point? Like it doesn't gel with me when people try to one-to-one stuff like that. So I empathize with your problem.
I appreciate it. I'm glad we're on the same page then. So at the and real quick to the audience, if you want to get a feel for this also without pledging or anything, there is a jump start that I've linked down the link below. You can go to that. I think it's pay what you want, I believe, or
It's pay what you want.
Yeah, pay what you want. You can go get it, download
it for free.
And you can just kind of look through and get a feel for what the game's gonna be like. That being said, at the very beginning of the jumpstart, you talk about the you dedicate a whole entire page to this actually about the core gameplay loop. Yeah. You talk about that for a second. Like what? Well, yeah, just
sure.
Explain the gameplay loop and then I mean you kind of already talked about it a little bit, but
I think game writers and game designers need to be less afraid to explicitly say like, hey, here is my intention with what I'm doing here. Because so much of I've played maybe 100 different tabletop games in my life, like tabletop role-playing games. And I've read even more. But so many of them are afraid to just say like, hey, here's kind of what the design intention here is. And so I wanted to include that for people who might not know what the game design, loop for this could be. It's not a thing that says you have to play the game like this, but it is to say like, hey, if you're a little lost, if you're a little confused, here's an easy flow chart to sort of like go through it. Like, determine the monster that needs to be hunted. Do some research into it. Prepare your equipment. Go out and track it down and fight it. Gather the material from it and turn that into new equipment to sort of repeat the process as the story unfolds. Because that's another big thing, is that I didn't want to just have for the plot point campaign, I had someone in the Kickstarter ask already, like, is it just going to be go to point A, fight monster, go to point B, fight monster?
I saw that comment, and I was going to bring it up later.
It's a great comment. It's a great comment because no, that would be so miserable. That would bore me to tears.
Yeah.
It is. The monsters are great and fun because I do like combat, but I also like storytelling. And so a lot of it is like, well, why do we have to stop this monster? What other threats are there that aren't just giant monsters? Like, what is the ethics of what we're doing here? Like, I think that there are a lot of interesting things to ask in that gameplay loop.
Right.
And that's, I feel like I can probably continue to clarify it more, but there's a difference between being like verbose and concise. And I try to err on the side of conciseness, even if I leave some of the nuance out.
Right. And so I think that actually leads us into like, let's talk about the setting a little bit then. So because obviously this gameplay loop comes in a context to understand what the world is. And I know this is taking place on a large land mass, but there is, with there's monsters and stuff. There's also humans. Yeah. What's going on with that? What's going on with these large monsters and humanity sharing this large land mass? How is that working out? Why is it this way? what is the job of these hunters then? It's not, it's more than just hunting.
Yeah. So Grand Isle is sort of the name I went with for this setting. I went with, the very, I call them on the nose names for a lot of things. Where like, that sure is a big island. That's why it's called Grand Isle. But it is a setting where there are different pockets of humanity, different enclaves of human, and it's just humanity. I didn't feel the need to include like elves or dwarves or little cat people or anything like that.
No, I think that it would distract from the purpose of the game. Yeah.
I like to keep things focused. You will see that I like to offer a wide net, but then anything outside that net is pruned immediately. um, but it is about people who exist not necessarily in harmony with monsters, but in harmony with the world at large. Like I'm very big into nature and conservation efforts and things like that. I think that nature is one of the best things that we have access to. It's one of the last free things that we have access to in this world for the most part. And I think that we have done wrong by it. Now, it's not like a soapboxy game. Obviously, everything anyone writes has some of their own personal politics in it, and this is the same thing. It has some of my politics in it. But it is specifically about the way that these humans survive alongside these monsters while also recognizing that these monsters that are dangerous to them are a necessary part of the ecosystem that enables them to survive. But each sort of settlement of humanity is more or less isolated, with hunters and couriers and merchants sort of bridging the gap between them. Because outside of these, to steal a term from the old 4th edition of Dungeons and Dragons, outside of these like points of light, which is the settlements, it's kind of this vast, dangerous darkness, which is where, the monsters live. Obviously, it's not out to get you, but it's nature. It's dangerous.
Sure.
It's not a bear's fault for killing you in the same way that's not going to be a giant lizard's fault for killing you. It's hungry. It's a tragedy, but anyway. So hunters fill this goal where it is equal conservationist and equal part like land warden and sometimes executioner, where it's going to be this thing where it's a tough needle to thread because you want to give GMs the ability to just turn their brains off and play the smash monster with a rock game. But I choose to make that something that can be ignored for people who want a little bit more. So it's like, oh, this specific monster has been like tending to get closer to the farmland. So now we need to deal with it because it's made its nest there and attempts to chase it off just aren't working. So we need to get rid of it. It's, we have to deal with it. Or, this one monster is entering an area where maybe, I think even like the one shot is a monster that's native to a different biome is sort of starting to spend more time in the Pearl Coast and is over consuming a staple creature there, which is going to cause big problems. And a little bit of, visitation and eating the fish is one thing, but this thing is eating, way too much all at once. So we have to deal with it because now this seems to be, whatever has chased it out isn't our problem. We can deal with that later. Right now, we need to preserve this ecosystem. And other times it's just like, yeah, this big frog squished my kid. Can you kill this big frog for me? It's a balance between those two general, just like we need the game to happen, but also I don't feel good about a game where you just go out and kill animals for the sake of going out and killing animals.
Sure. And you already kind of hinted at like one of the ways that the game kind of expands out rather than just being like, okay, go kill this monster. Because you said like, okay, this monster's come in, it's killed a bunch of his stuff. We didn't know. We do eventually need to figure out why it came here. What pushed it out? So you've already created now a hook
for the next adventure.
Exactly. Yeah. There's already a hook there.
And
which is
it has storytelling hooks because your group of hunters can go to settlements in that biome and start asking questions. You can
right.
network, you can figure out what's going on, you
There,
can work with or work against. Please, after you.
I'll say that there's an investigative quality to it.
Mm-hmm.
You got to investigate what's happening. It it's like it's like being like doing like CSI, but CSI as like as a park ranger.
Yeah, I'm a game warden investigator.
Yeah, exactly. Um, so I mean that sounds cool because it means that there is, it shows that there is more to the game loop than just go hunt, make items, repeat. It's not hunt, harvest, create, repeat. There's more to it than that.
Yeah, it's the quiet moments that are why I play role playing games. Like I really like the moments where it's like, okay, yeah, we're tracking the monster or whatever, but we're around the campfire and like, what are we talking about? And like, what are we not talking about? That's what I'm here for, and that's kind of the between the lines of a setting like this.
Right, right. So, oh man, I had a question lined up, and
I'm so sorry. I'm
no,
yapping.
no. It wasn't your fault. I just blanked completely. Yeah. All right. So that's the gameplay loop we've talked about, and then there's the parts in between. Let's go ahead and start talking about some of these more details.
Sure.
Let's start with the tracking, right? So part of the first part of the gameplay loop is about figuring out what monster you need to hunt, for whatever reason, whether it be because this monster is attacking this village or because it's causing economical problems or whatever. And tracking it down.
Yeah.
What is there anything special that you guys are doing in this game to facilitate that part of the loop?
So the short answer, which for me is nice, but for some people might be disappointing, is no.
Okay.
I'm not doing anything special for that, and that's because Savage Worlds already does that. Like a lot of people, I like to take the core rules and utilize them in as many ways as possible, because rather than creating a structure for, well, this is how you hunt a monster and it's going to be this way every single time you go to hunt, I'd rather take the existent subsystems of Savage Worlds and sort of showcase how you can utilize them to make these goals depending on what your game group is feeling right now, or just like what you as the game master want to do. Because a dramatic task, a chase, even networking to get more clues, quick encounters, downtime, things like this, they all can be the tracking. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like sometimes I like to think like, well, if this were a TV show, how formulaic would it be? And if every single time the main characters went out to like find the monster of the week, if they followed the same course of action, it would be a boring show. So sure. I think I even wrote this in the book, which this wasn't in the quick start, but it will be in the full rules. I didn't want to reinvent the wheel.
Yeah.
And it's just easier to stretch the meat that Savage Worlds already has rather than just add more. Mm-hmm. I use everything in game design is sort of the way I approach designing. I don't want to make a new system. I want to play Savage Worlds. Right. And since I'm working in Savage Worlds, I'm going to use as much Savage Worlds to make that happen as possible.
Right. Every monster that I think most of the monsters I saw in here, maybe at least the bigger monsters in the jumpstart, you do list like details you can learn about the monster through different skill checks, so that people can research them and study them ahead of tracking.
Yep.
So
that will occur in that part of the gameplay loop. Yeah. It's a very simple, just like during the information gathering, each person in the party sort of picks one skill they want to roll and rolls it. And if they succeed, they get that information. And if they don't, then, based on how bad they messed up, they might get no information or they might get bad information, which could be very fun to just completely go into something you need to prepare for, having prepared completely wrong.
Right. So once you check the monster, you then have to fight the monster. And you kind of talked about, you go into quite a bit of detail this because you are adjusting some of this stuff in order to make things simpler. But also to accommodate for the fact that monsters are going to be different sizes and something that, an element of the way the game is going to work for parts, right? So what was your thoughts on like why you did things the way you did it, and like what are the ways you did it here?
So emulating a game where a major part of the combat game loop is attacking and destroying specific parts of a monster to gain more materials, it seemed like it would fit really well with called shots. And so I wanted to kind of create a system that combined called shots and the scale modifiers in a way that helped the GM have to keep track of less information because I do not like scale modifiers.
Okay.
I learned a lot about how they are intended to work while writing Savage Hunter.
Okay.
I learned a lot about the intended game design. And I see why they were designed the way they are. I still don't think I like it though, but I do appreciate the design that went into it.
I'm curious to hear more about that, but we don't have to go too far into it.
Yeah, but so I made a sort of rolled in just general like 2-hit modifier where it's like, this is the modifier to hit that hunters have when attacking this part of the monster. And I wanted to have these large monsters, these boss monsters, have parts that break and make them weaker as the fight goes on. Because Savage Worlds, at its core, is a death spiral game. Yes. It is a game where you get worse. But
by design. By design.
By design, exactly. And so the goal isn't to turn an apple into an orange. The goal is to run with what already works with Savage Worlds, which is death spiral. And so by making the monsters ignore a good amount of wound penalties, giving them just whatever wound cap, whatever wound count I felt was appropriate for the monster, rather than calculating it based off of size.
Sure.
And then distributing sort of some of those to parts that can be broken, encouraged more positional thinking during playtesting. And that's really what I wanted people to think of, because saying, oh, I attack the dragon, I roll fighting, is very different than having the sort of springboard, because I think combat is role-playing. And I think role-playing, for a lot of people, they need springboards. And saying, I would like to attack the front limb of this monster with my greatsword is very different than just saying, oh yeah, I want to attack the monster with my greatsword. And it helps paint a picture more easily for people who might need that. And then I codify that within the rules. The rules complement the role playing, complement the rules, is sort of where I was going with that.
Do you mind if I just pull up a monster from the jumpstart, and then we can just kind of like talk about this?
We'll break it down. Absolutely.
Yeah. So let me go ahead and
ooh, I like that question. I do like that question.
The one from Pete?
From Peter, yeah.
Yeah, we'll get into that. Sorry, I'm trying to find my stop screen share. Screen share. Window. There we go. All right. So what I have up here is the from the jumpstart. We have the Great Hoyaro. Haro. Yeah, we got. Yeah.
This is actually the first large monster we designed. From like stem to stern. This is like my flagship monster, even though he's not on the cover.
Yeah, so you got parts here. You got these your specific parts listed out here. You got the body, 2 feet, 2 wings. And you mentioned the hit modifier. And so like this one, the hit modifier is -1, meaning that the fighting or shooting roll or actually, I'll ask this question real quick. Is there magic in this game?
No. The only powers come from a very specific item, and none of them are offensive.
Okay, there we go. So this affects the shooting, athletics, and fighting rolls for the 2 hit, -1.
So for a -1. Yep.
Yeah. Now the monster itself has 9 toughness with 9 parry, which is fairly high.
Yes.
But the feet only have 5,
Mm-hmm.
and it has 1 wound. Now you did list wounds up here. So is my understanding correct that then like if you take out 1 foot, that's a wound, but that subtracts from these ones up here as well.
It subtracts from the master amount up there. Yes.
Okay. And then additionally, you have this stuff here that controls blade talon and parry.
Yes. So blade talon and parry will both get weaker as the feet are broken. That's sort of by design. We want the monster to enter an exaggerated death spiral, was sort of the idea here. So for blade talon, okay, so well, there's something that I can fix. I can get rid of the parry because we rolled parry into blade talon, so I can get rid of that in its feat notes.
Oh, okay.
But, basically, we want the damage and the parry bonus to get lower as you break its feet, because now the monster is getting weaker and weaker and is going to become a little more desperate to sort of deal with things.
Sure. Yeah. So in this case, the blade talon gets weaker by 1 die, so it'll go from a D8 to a D6 if you break it 1. I assume you would logic would say that if you break both feet, it doesn't have blade talon anymore.
No. So it will just be an agility plus D4 with no bonus to parry. It'll still have that basic attack, but it will just be worse.
Got it. Okay. All right. So then we have the wings, which controls its ability to fly.
Yep. It gets slower. It can't fly quite as well once it loses that ability.
And also
going down from 20 to 10 to 5.
Yeah. Now you also have entered here that what you can harvest from these things. We haven't gotten to harvesting yet. We'll get to that, but meaning that like if you like cut off one of their feet and it flies away, you can still harvest that foot. Is that my understanding?
So, yes. So the way that it kind of works in the game, where the game logic comes across kind of in the crunch of an adaptation, is you break the parts. That's the mechanic that they sort of describe in some of these types of games. It's breaking the part. So it might not be ripped clean off the body, but it becomes non-functional or non-pristine, I guess. It still functions, but it's not as good as it can be. And that sort of breaking process sometimes means like the part that you break off, in this case, like the bladed talon, it might fall to the ground. Or in the case of like a rocky hide or something like that, if you break that, it might be easier to pry off during a harvesting phase. It all sort of comes down to narrative choice with ideally as little friction in gameplay design as possible. You know, we want the stat block to tell the monster's story.
Okay. So just to clarify then, if you break it off, it depends on what makes sense or how the GM makes sense. If you can harvest it, even if the monster leaves, or is it the design idea that if the monster leaves and you did break one of the parts, you still can't harvest it?
So it depends entirely on, and there's kind of a bit of an explanation of this in the full rules section. It sort of depends on the narrative of it, but in general, if you manage to break something, you want to give the players the chance to roll to get the material no matter what, because they did the thing. Otherwise, you're making them do this objective for functionally no reason if the monster just pieces out and they can't find it again. That doesn't sound very fun.
Sure. Okay. Got it. Now, you do have a lot of other abilities here, and one of the things that we talked about, one of the reasons I love your other product, Simply Savage Bestiary,
It's a good book.
is because you don't reference edges ever.
Nor will I. I'm
that
tired of edges. I don't like edges on monsters.
I don't like edges on monsters either. I don't. I like monsters. I like edges. Don't get me wrong. I love edges. Don't like edges on monsters. And that's one of the things again, as you look through all the abilities here, you know exactly what this thing can do. Now I will say this has quite a few abilities.
Big monsters, they have quite a few abilities. Yeah, this is very different than Simply Savage in that Simply Savage was experimenting with format, where this product is experimenting with called shots and scale. That's and wounds. That's like each product I make, I'm trying to experiment with a different aspect of Savage Worlds, and eventually I'll find something that works perfect for me.
Pete did ask a question that you do address in this product in the quick jumpstart. The called shot hits a specific part but doesn't wound. Is the whole monster still shaken?
Yes, it is.
And so the answer is yes. I don't remember where you called that out, but you do call that out.
Yep, I do. Because that question comes up a lot during playtesting, and the answer is yes. And if you shake the whole monster with a non-called shot, that shakes the part as well. So if the bird is shaken, and then think of it like smaller wound totals on the parts that still contribute to the whole.
Right.
Because it's very possible to do enough wounds to defeat the monster before you have broken every single part.
Right.
If you're just not making called shots, which is intended design, because sometimes you're not going to have the right materials on hand.
Right. Yeah, and we'll get to that as well. Also, I'm just going to quick call out. Love the recharge abilities. Like,
do you like them?
I love them.
Okay, that's what I wanted them to kind of be as frictionless as possible. I don't think seamless is the right word, but action cards, there's so much more action cards can do that I just feel like Savage Worlds does not capitalize on.
I absolutely love the recharge system. Absolutely love it.
That means the world to hear. Like, genuinely, that freaking
no, every time I do use one of the recharge abilities, I'm like, because it makes the action card like I already think that the action, we're getting a little off topic. That's fine. I already think that the action card economy or the use of the action cards, like you said, they can be more done with it, and I already think it's exciting. But I think it could be even more exciting, right? Especially for a GM where like you're just trying to figure out like, hey, is this monster? When's the monster going? Now it's like, or even like think about bennies. Like, if my players all get, let's just say use this one as an example. Let's say they get, they got like all three of them got aces, right? They got 3 aces, and I got a 9. Well, I might want to spend a Benny to draw a new card so that this ability recharges. So it's just like I like that interaction, like the more kind of decision makings it gives you. And I like the interaction.
Making is a huge part of it, because during the playtest for Simply Savage, I was like, I want to create monsters where if they draw multiple cards and one of them is like a really high card, but the other one will recharge abilities, I want that to be a tough decision to make. It's like, what do I need right now? And
I don't know why. Usually with my players, it's I need to go now, otherwise I'm not going to have a turn later.
Well, I have something. I have another project that I've been working on that will be experimenting even further with action card economies, specifically on the player side. So I'm very excited to try that.
All right, so we go back up to the gameplay loop real quick. I definitely want to hear more about that, but yeah, we'll talk the gameplay loop.
How do you think?
So you kill the monster, defeat the monster. Now you got to harvest it. Now harvesting is harvesting meant to take that much time, or is it usually going to be something that's pretty straightforward and doesn't take maybe 5 minutes just to harvest the monster?
Straightforward. This was a thing that I'm going to make sure I check the emphasis of it to make sure I emphasize it more, but like harvesting should be relatively quickly. It might take a little more time after you defeat a large monster, but you're not going to be fighting large monsters very often.
Okay.
So that was the big trade-off. It's like, if you fight like a gaggle of small monsters, whatever the skill calls for the monsters, roll it once. If you succeed, you get those. If you don't, you get half or whatever. And then if you critically fail, you don't get anything. With a large monster, I would do the same thing where I just roll anything that requires athletics, roll it together. Anything that requires thievery, roll it together. Anything that requires survival, roll it together. And then you get it. For groups that want to take that meticulous time to you know, decrease the chances of losing everything, but increase the chance of losing some of it, they can roll it one by one. Because once again, rolling that stuff can still occur during a role-playing scene, like a post-battle fight between, you know, a character who acted too headstrong and endangered the other hunters while someone is harvesting the materials. The potential for storytelling is still there,
Right.
even if there's some underlying harvesting going on. But at my table personally, just roll once per skill and let's move on, because I want to get to the talking. My favorite.
So let's talk about harvesting a little bit more, because it is in this jumpstart.
Sure.
You have two things. There's like two things that go into what materials you get. You got rarity, and you have different types, right?
Yes.
So can you explain how those work? This is like, to be clear, this thing I read through, but I didn't fully grasp it myself. I only read it through once, so I maybe
That's okay.
How does that all work together?
So it comes together fully in the crafting rules, which are not in the quick start, because I can't give away the whole gold just for free. But
understood.
Basically, the way that it works is when you are crafting your gear, the way that I've sort of broken it down is, and this went through so many revisions. Oh my God. Trying to figure out how to craft gear took so long to get something that felt good and was relatively quick. Because if you're trying to craft gear for 5 players, you don't want to have to spend 10 minutes per player. But you can take the types, you know, the plate, the haft, the essence, and the fabric, and each gear recipe will require, you know, 3 of those in any combination. So if you're trying to make like a plate armor, plate, fabric. If you want to make like a specifically elementally attuned plate armor, essence, plate, fabric. It's very simple. Just take 3 and make it. And it doesn't have this whole exhaustive list. It's just like, pick 3, and if it works, it works. You want to make a spear, half plate. It's fine. Don't worry about it. But and then as you make it, the rarity, the dominant rarity of the craft, basically whichever rarity has the majority of the materials you're using, you can select modifiers for the gear based on the rarity. So stronger modifiers are gate kept behind higher rarities. So if you want to make something with rare modifiers, you need to be hunting rare monsters. If you want to start small with common or uncommon.
Trying to find the page that mentioned a few of the modifiers.
I don't think the modifiers are in here.
Oh, maybe it was attributes then, like weapon attributes.
Yeah, so those are the new weapon attributes. Those are just applied to the base form of the weapons that are even in their uncrafted versions.
Right. Yeah. So I like this one, like the finesse one. It's, as much as it feels like a direct ripoff of a 5e, I'm like, no, that makes sense. I like it.
Yeah, I think agility is already very strong in Savage Worlds, but not to the extent that dexterity is in Dungeons and Dragons. And also, I just like using other stats for damage. Like I had a goblin in Simply Savage Bestiary that does smarts on his staff roll because he's using a magic weapon. I just like it.
No, I like that. That was one of the yeah, man, I could go talk forever about. Anyways, yeah, I mean, one of the things you even say with the finesse is that like you still need to have the minimum strength to use it.
It's like, not going to completely reduce it. You still need to be strong enough to lift the weapon. It just gives you a chance to use your agility a little more.
Yeah. It's like the weapon is like, well, yeah.
Yeah.
If a weapon has like a D6, because usually like if a weapon's like a D6, it means strength with D6, it means that you need to have a strength of D6 to use it. Well, it means that you can have a strength of D6 but have an agility of D8. Now you're doing D8 plus D6 damage.
Exactly. That's what I really want here, is the ability to sort of do that, because I like giving players a little bit of agency, and also I love making people have to make choices. Like, what do I actually want to build?
Yeah. So we kind of gone over the crafting a little bit already. It takes having those attributes, it takes having the money, and we are not going to go over we can't really go over it much more, because this is what you are kind of like one of the things you're really selling in this product, which absolutely makes sense.
I'm willing to talk about it. Truly, like, I'm an open book. I'm not looking to hide anything, because I am confident in my work. I just didn't want to include what I would consider the steak dinner in the setting.
You include like a few recipes here to give like some examples of different weapons.
Oh, there's an extra essence in there. God, sometimes formatting and InDesign is an absolute nightmare. Something slips through every time. I edit this like 20 times, and still I've noticed two things.
Well, I'll say that'll bring up a little bit. So I think we pretty much cover like what's going to happen in this game. We know what the gameplay loop is going to look like. We know what the world's going to look like. You mentioned there's going to be a plot point campaign.
Yes.
Which I'm a big fan of. I love plot point campaigns because they aren't super rigid like other adventures are. That's one of the things I'm actually struggling with the Sag Pathfinder adventure pass, is that they're a little more rigid than other things I've run for Pinnacle. But you're running a plot point campaign. Can you give us like a little like preview of like what that plot point campaign is going to be about?
Absolutely. So it is an intrigue-focused, research-based plot point campaign where the hunters come gradually to the understanding that there is something ancient reawakening on Grand Isle that is throwing the ecosystem into chaos. And it is up to them to basically work all over Grand Isle and figure out what is happening and what they can do to stop it. That's the least spoilery version I can give. There is big, cool, unique monster, like a real, true, legendary beast at the end of it, though. So it's fun.
Yeah. How long of a plot point campaign is it?
It is not terribly long, because during Savage Tokusatsu, I burned myself out writing that plot point campaign, even though like I ran it twice. And so I believe it's about 5 plot points right now. And that's probably where it's going to stay. Because I don't really have anything more to say about it. I found myself saying, well, what is going to say everything that I want to say? And then how fast can I get out?
Going back, I realized as an important question that I did not ask earlier.
Sure.
In the part of the gameplay loop is also creating items. One of the things that you talk about in the jumpstart is that the probably reason why that's important is the players aren't just getting stronger. There is important elements of what they are crafting that goes into what they go to fight next, because you're not going to take the same stuff with you. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Oh God, I could speak way too much to that. Okay. One of my big problems with a lot of video games and a lot of tabletop games is the problem of just like, this is the perfect sword. I don't need to get different magic armor. I don't need a different sword, because this +3 sword is as good as it's gonna get. It only goes up to +3. Savage Worlds gives me the lateral design to not have to do that. Even with something as simple as armor versus toughness gives a game designer a plethora of wiggle room with how they want to design their monsters. Because a monster with gigantic armor could be countered more readily by a weapon with gigantic armor piercing. While a monster with gigantic toughness is not going to be countered by armor piercing. You're probably going to want to try to do a lot more tests. You're probably going to want to try to use a lot more poison or traps. And you're going to need to stack bigger damage and ideally like vulnerable, distracted, wild attack. You're going to want to have to play to its weaknesses while countering its strengths. And that's the big thing is in games like this, like video games like this, you switch your weapon almost every hunt, depending on what you're going for. You don't switch your armor every hunt, but in this game, I want you to. I want you to be like, okay, we're going to the cold biome because the environment I want to be not as dangerous as the monster, but my first role-playing game setting was Dark Sun for AD&D.
Okay.
And that really colored my design to games because the desert is way more dangerous than the monsters that are already insanely dangerous. The desert kills more players in Athos than anybody else. And I wanted to kind of capture that OSR kind of feeling with this, where it's like, sometimes you're just going to want to get a modifier that resists elemental damage and the environment. Other times you're going to want to stack armor. Other times you're going to want to stack, you know, a stat boost or focus more on tests or focus more on support roles, things like that. Because, and a lot of the times you're going to need to stock up on specific consumable items. Like this monster does a paralyzing poison, bring paralyzing antidote. This monster does mild poison, bring mild antidote. And that's the big thing is rewarding prep. My main goal is to have players have the option to make themselves feel smart at the end of the session. If a player walks away going, oh my God, we pulled it off. We figured out what we needed. And I'm so glad you're so right, dude. I'm so glad we brought that specific item because we did need it. That's what I want players. If a player didn't walk away from a playtest like that for Savage Hunter, I counted that as a bad playtest. And I tried to push the monster further into a direction where you could build a way to stop it. And not just like, oh, I bought the wrong edges. I mean, like, go to the grocery store and buy a different item.
Right. Cool. All right. Let's see here. Is there anything else from the jumpstart that we want to jump into and talk about?
Up to you. I mean,
I think we pretty much covered everything. So let's talk about what your final product is going to be. Obviously, we're going to have the book. It's going to have all these rules in it, in the ones that we've just alluded to, and it's going to have the plot point campaign, as well as I'm sure a decent number of monsters. I tried finding a page number, but do you have an estimated page count for this product?
So not at this time. Okay. The big thing that I'm grappling with, even now, is the size of the print book. Very frustratingly, because I can only afford to do print on demand. Like, it's tough right now, y'all. I'm sure everybody knows that. But offset printing is just not something I can do.
Sure.
And Drive-Thru RPG recently hiked their prices, which makes print on demand, while it's still an incredible service, more expensive. And I got to eat. Simple as that. You know, I make no qualms about it. And the big problem is I love the Savage Worlds graphic novel book size, but that is the smallest large book that Drive-Thru RPG prints on. And the jump from small book to large book in terms of pricing is pretty hefty for the production cost. And I want to figure out sort of where it lands. I want to wait for playtest or like early release notes to come through from people because I want to have more time. I baked in more time for the release cycle to get feedback, unlike with Simply Savage Bestiary. You know, I learned a lesson.
You know? So you mentioned it in your Substack post about how you wanted to leave more time for future projects. I think you also mentioned that the one of the ways you found some stuff was just stumbling upon my live stream talking about it.
Yeah,
so
literally YouTube just recommended it to me. It was like, do you want to learn about this? I was like, how the hell do they know that? but like, it was interesting. But yeah, like I I'm not a social media person. I got off of it for my mental health, and I'm way better for it. I don't want to be a social media person, but I like talking. I'm enjoying this very much. But yeah. So what I can say is that right now the book is about 50,000 words.
Okay.
Once it gets to layout, that's gonna sort of be where it goes from there, because I do most of the stuff by myself. I had some assistance with graphic design this time. I have a wonderful, beautiful team of artists that I love working with. They are some of the best people I've ever worked with. And their artwork is going to fill the pages as best as we can. And I want to keep the page count as low as possible, but not cut content, because a lower page count means it's cheaper for the end user, because I like to give as affordable a product as I can, because boy, it's tough out here. And the least I can do is try to give people a break while still making enough to eat. You know what I mean? But so we'll figure it out. It might be the same size as the Simply Savage Bestiary. It might be the same size as Savage Worlds.
Okay, are we talking like just to, not to use another product like this is Simply Savage Bestiary size? Oh, what's your camera? This would be like Vermilion, which is approximately the same size as it's really close to the same size as Sagitt's products are.
I don't know Vermilion. This is the first I've heard of it. But it's
watch my video on Thursday.
I will. But yeah, it's look at this Adventure Edition core book. That is the size of like the default suede. It's graphic novel size.
Yeah,
I forget the exact size off the top of my head, but it's like 0.5 inches larger in all directions from the Simply Savage Bestiary.
Okay.
And the difference is like $5.
Yeah. Just to give an example, almost every single product I've gotten a lot of products from TTRPG for on demand, and like they're the same height. Like so, this one is the same height as the rulebook, but it's like a little bit longer,
just a little larger. Yeah, it's
which I think is nice actually, because it means that there's more room for the artwork.
Yeah, it's tough because if I go large, I like printing large enough that I can show off the artwork.
Right.
But I am a sucker for mimicking the aesthetics of whatever I'm working in. You know what I mean? Like I like looking professional.
Sure.
I value
that. Cool. So the Kickstarter's going on right now. I'll say I think it's pretty affordable actually. Your pricing is quite affordable for the Kickstarter.
I try my best.
So I think you're doing a good job there. So definitely, if you're at all interested, please do check it out. It honestly, it's not that much.
No, I think it's 15 for the PDF and 20 for the at cost print voucher right now. So, and I will say this: if you're on the fence and you're watching this at any point, the price does go up on Drive-Thru-RPG. This is it gets a lower price for Kickstarter backers.
There you go. Yeah, so if you want a cheaper price, get it now. I think is there anything else about Savage Hunter that you want to talk about that we did not mention?
I like the ecosystems. It's not really a Savage Worlds thing, but I wrote a whole blog post yesterday about designing the feel of a living, breathing ecosystem. I'm a big fan of those. Not really anything more to talk about. I like designing a world that feels alive, even if, a biologist might attack me for for not doing a perfect simulation.
Sure.
I like it when a world feels alive, because one of my pet peeves is like random encounter tables in Dungeons and Dragons being like, on one table it's like you encounter a party of elves, and then a later encounter on the same table, if you rolled like 100, is like a red dragon has been destroying the entire forest. It's like, well, why didn't the elves know about that? Like, that bothers me. The ecosystem doesn't feel real. Where's my verisimilitude, man? So yeah, I shot for that in a way that's approachable, in a way that's not like weird about it.
Cool.
Yeah, that's the only thing I want to plug is if you like it, tell me, because someone said something very nice on the Kickstarter comments about that post today, and it made my freaking day.
I think I said like they backed it because of that post, essentially.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the Substack is it's a new thing I'm trying. Because again, not on social media, but I like talking about game design. And you left an incredibly insightful comment on the first one too about the Simply Savage Bestiary postmortem. If you want to check out the BPB Games Substack, it's like a mailing list. And I talk about game design on there. Subscribe. That I guess that would be a big thing that I would want to plug too. Because if people like it, I like
I don't fully understand what Substack. I follow several people on Substack. I think honestly, I think it's like two. I think it's like you and like Julian Simpson. Is that the right person? Julian Simpson? I think so. And he does a podcast that I really enjoy. And it's basically, from what I can tell, it's like a blog essentially.
It's basically like a blog mailing list, and I wanted to start a mailing list because as the internet gets worse, we are going back to the old ways. And one of the best ways to talk to an active community or like is a mailing list, just to people who can opt in to enjoy your stuff. And I'd never heard of Substack before until Spencer Harris from Gila's RPG. He made like Slayers and stuff like that. Excellent games. It turned out that I was subscribed to his Substack somehow, maybe through like a Kickstarter or something. But I was like, oh, this is perfect. This is exactly what I'm looking for. So I'm going to keep doing it. It's very fun. I really like it.
Okay, great. Okay, so kind of some last final questions around the future for BPB Games. One, I'll ask, do you plan on doing anything additional Savage Hunter after this? Like after you get the core rules out, making more adventures, more plot point campaigns, one sheets, that kind of stuff?
So this might be an ugly answer. It depends. It depends on if it makes a lot of money. That sounds crass, but like it depends on if it's profitable to do so. I'm sorry, I speak very bluntly. But I would love to, but with like Savage Tokusatsu, the ancillary products didn't really make as much money as they cost to produce. They were an experiment and they just didn't work out. So if the interest is there, I would be more than happy to. But even if the interest is there, I love jumping from product to product. Like right now I'm writing a thing about vampires, and then I'm writing another thing about like class edges and pushing them to their limits.
I was about to say, so like if it's not this, what is next for BPB Games?
So that depends, because I'm very scattered as a designer. I like to do things promptly, and so I have a couple of things in the fire right now, a couple irons in the fire. But if I was going to continue to do Savage World stuff, which, I love, I think it's my favorite system to design for, and I do mean that. I have a second Savage Tokusatsu book that I would really love to do, because I think that I finally have a new thing to say about it. I have an aquatic fantasy setting that I'm interested in doing some stuff for, an apocalyptic kind of icy setting that I'm interested in doing. And both of those are basically written. And then I have this vampire product that is a pet peeve. We joke, my primary play group, we joke that we're in our Dracula era right now, and we've been playing what amounts to basically like It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, but with vampires. Like, what if you got to be the vampire? What's up?
Is that not just What We Do in the Dark?
It's kind of like What We Do in the Shadows, but imagine it by way of Castlevania.
Okay.
And that's not the tone of the setting. That's just the tone of the campaign. I gotta stick up my rump about like even in Savage Worlds, to my knowledge, every like monster hunting setting and like gothic horror setting is like, you're playing the humans. What if you weren't the humans? What if you were the vampires?
I would recommend checking out Accursed.
Accursed. Okay, I'm gonna write that down.
Yep.
Awesome.
They have not updated to. They have not done a full-time book updated to Suede, but they did release a conversion guide. I will also say I don't know if they sell it anymore, but I know that I spoke to the person who was working on it. I said, "Hey, I would really like it if you did a Suede version." But so Cursed is what you should look out for.
I'll see. So the one thing I do is when I'm working on a product, I try not to look at other things like
Also
it.
fair. I
don't
get
want
it.
to steal from them, but the name is tight because right now my working title for it is Vampires, but the S is a Z. It's Vampires with a Z instead, which is not going to be the final product.
I hope not.
But the main goal for that is to change the way advancement works because I really like the idea of using the mechanic of draining blood as the way that you gain edges and attribute and skill increases.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
I also had a
like
weird way,
but taken to the extreme.
I also had a weird idea for how to do advancements.
Okay.
But it's more like the idea was that you play as sorry.
It's okay. Take a drink. Take a sip. We'll take a sip together.
The idea was that you play as basically retired adventurers.
Okay.
And so you've got basically all of your abilities like laid out, and then you start taking hindrances on for being old and like decreasing attributes and stuff. And essentially what happens is that as you lose like skills and as you lose attributes, you basically are no longer qualified for the edges you had. So only thing advances really look like is re-increasing your strength or your vigor or whatever, or you're trying to get like unlocking once again the things that you used to be good at.
Advancement in flux. That is fascinating.
So it's like you're like as you get your vigor back, like, oh hey, my vigor is back up to D6. Now I can get that edge back again.
I can keep tough as nails.
Yeah, tough as nails again. Yeah, whatever. So basically, you get dequalified from your edges. Essentially, that means that you make a character all the way to legendary, and then you give it a whole bunch of malice for being old.
Super. Chase that down. That's extremely neat. That's a very cool approach. It's niche, but I love niche.
If anybody else wants to, talk about that. So that's one thing. My wife and I were also working on like playing grandmas who were forced to be adventurers. I'm not sure I don't know what we were. I'm not sure what our ideas were there, but it's
got to keep the orphanage open,
Yeah,
we got to fund the orphanage somehow.
So then, okay, so you have some other products you're working on. This is a personal question. Are you working on more bestiaries?
Yes.
Yay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I have sourced it. A lot of people want a sci-fi bestiary, and I want to do a sci-fi bestiary, but dude, those are hard.
Because like
what is sci-fi?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like,
no, I feel you. I feel you on that one.
It's just yeah. Please, I interrupted you. Please.
No. I agree. I completely understand. Like, what do you put in as? I mean, even fantasy has that to extent. Like, there's like the typical tropes fantasy. The tropes of sci-fi pretty much come down to like big Vulcans and Klingons, and then who knows what else?
Psychic power, purple person.
Yeah.
Robots. Those are the four. But I want to try to do a sci-fi one, and I might merge it with like post-apocalyptic as well, just to get it to a page count where I would feel comfortable saying, "Hey, this is a finished product," because I never want to shortchange people. That's not the way I do business. But and I already have a fantasy 2. Like Simply Savage Bestiary 2 for fantasy. That's like halfway done.
Cool. Because I'd say there's definitely some every once in a while. Actually, I don't say every once in a while. Often, I was going through here trying to find a monster that like would to like replace one of the monsters in here. You need more giants.
Giants. I think I'm gonna shoot to try and get like a classic, elemental group of giants in the next one. I can't promise anything, but I'm going to try to do it if I can Because a giant is basically just an elemental plus a big person. And that can be difficult to thread the needle for, you know what I mean?
That's one way to look at it.
Oh, I mean, listen, I'm always open to suggestions.
The way that part of it is just like the being engrossed in like Forgotten Realms lore and Glorian lore right now. It's like there's a lot of differences between like the stone giants and the storm giants and the hill giants. Like there's a lot of difference between like who they are as a species, essentially.
As a culture, yeah.
Yeah,
that's
like
one thing that I tried to avoid in Simply Savage Bestiary is like the racial tropes of like, oh, it's an orc. All orcs are like primitive savages. I was like, no, these are like specific cultures. And like even with the gnolls, I tried to make sure that they had like gnoll scholars and things like that. Not for any reason beyond just like they need to have a functioning society.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
Full stop. They need to have a functioning society.
Yeah. So it's just like, well, even that, yeah, like hill giants tend to be more. Yeah, you can still like, as you said, like evoke different things. But
I'm descended from hill people. You're not gonna upset me if you say they're kind of like Hicks. Like,
I mean, that's the way that they're typically portrayed. Yeah. Whereas like stone giants love magic. They love runes. They Yeah,
I'm not super versed on like D&D lore. Like again, the only D&D setting I ever really played was Dark Sun, and then I really liked the Points of Light setting than Enter Veil from 4th edition, but that's literally it.
Either way, I would like more of these. Yes, please.
I would love to write more of them. I am writing more of them. I'm trying to figure out what is fiscally viable.
Sure. Are you seeing a lot of success with this?
It's doing surprisingly well. I will say the Kickstarter was the best Kickstarter I've ever had. It did better than the year prior combined, which is very cool. Savage Hunter is not quite doing as well as I would have hoped, but there's a lot of reasons for that. Just the economy, a bunch of other Kickstarters live at the same time, nearing the Christmas season. There's a lot of reasons for it, and that's okay. But it did really well. Like Simply Savage did really well, and I would like to do more of that because I loved writing it, and I had a second one halfway done before I even launched the Kickstarter for that one. So obviously, I like doing it.
Okay, cool, good. Like I said, that's this is how I think people should do monsters. All of you I know you're out there, creators who make Savage Worlds content. Please do monsters like this. This is so much easier to run.
That is very high praise. This has been a good day for my ego.
I don't have to read. I don't have to like study a stat block for this. I have to read through it real quick, and I can close the book and go, okay, let's go. Let's do this. Anyways,
if you are an aspiring designer or even just a GM and you want my unsolicited advice, the best thing you can do is start to design your monsters asymmetrically, regardless of the system you are playing. And I don't care if you're playing Pathfinder, Alien RPG, Savage Worlds, design your monsters asymmetrically. It will help you get a sense of game feel, and it will help you create more engaging concepts, because edges are cool for players, but they're a real pain in the butt for monsters, because this is coming from me, and I have a little steel trap memory for stupid game design stuff. You will forget to use an edge if it's just an edge written there. You will forget.
Yeah. I will say it is hard. I trying to design a monster without using edges is hard, because the way that you have usually the way you come to the game is you start as a player, and that's how you create the thing is through a character. So like I'm trying, like I have this one NPC I'm trying to create for our game, and I'm trying to design him with this feel, like this style, this format, I'll say, approach, whatever. And I'm like, okay, how do I wanted to keep it simple. I want to keep it like those 6 abilities, but I want it to be strong. And I'm like, and all I can think of is like, okay, what's the edges that he would have? Okay, no, I don't want to use edges. How do I do this in a way that
So don't poo-poo that idea, because the edges are a springboard.
Right.
Take the edges that you like and find a way to write them into the stat block.
Right. Right.
There are plenty of monsters in there that have the sweep edge, that have the first strike edge, but they are written into the monster's stat block,
Right. Yes,
rather than being listed as just a title. The edges are excellent. So don't, I would say, find a way to condense information rather than worrying about having an original, original thought. You know,
I should say usually it's like I'm trying to do too much essentially. Like
okay, yeah.
Like, okay, well, what am I this edge and this edge and this edge and this edge? Like, okay, whoa. Like, this is going to be like you're going a lot of different directions. Because the character's supposed to be like a bard and a cleric, and like, how do I capture the essence of both those things and capture that he's a worshiper of Lamashtu with have his two swords, and so, okay, he needs to have a
bard cleric of Lamashtu. That is a complex character already.
He's also a tiefling, so
okay, we're getting there. We're getting there, baby.
Yeah. This to be clear, this actually technically this was a PC that my player made, and then we wove him into the backstory of our current game. That's and cool. But we've leveled him up a whole lot. Anyways, okay, before we dive off, there's a couple questions from the chat I'm gonna go into. Pete Slims asked, I wonder if your fondness for quiet moments, you talked about like your times in between combat, have you done anything unique with interludes because of that?
I tried to. I ended up not liking what I wrote, so I cut it. I am a strong proponent of kill your darlings, and I did not. I didn't love it enough for it to make the final cut. I find that at this moment, I do not possess the ability as a technical writer to communicate role-playing frameworks like that in a way that feels organic and respectful of a player's skill. Because otherwise, like, I'll be telling them kind of what to do, and I don't like that. Interludes already have enough. If anything, my advice would be use the interludes from Savage Worlds Deluxe. I like them better. I like them better than the ones from Adventure.
I gotta do a comparison. I don't know if I looked at the interludes.
If memory serves. Yeah, because now they include like overland travel and stuff like that. But I'm pretty sure the old interludes were just the campfire tales, where it was just like a quiet moment for your characters to talk about what they were doing. But
oh yeah, they do talk about like in the current one that they can be used for, like, hey, as you're traveling, what are you talking about as you travel?
Which is more of a quick encounter, but its resolution mechanics are different. I don't think the name interludes is a good label for it. But that might just be because, unless I'm misremembering what they were called in Deluxe Edition, the interludes back then were way better. I really like them. The same way I liked trappings better in Deluxe Edition. I think that they were way more flexible.
Interesting.
That's my hot take. I like trappings and interludes better, but everything else about Suede is probably superior.
Sure. I'll say, starting out, I'm not seeing any differences with the interludes from what I know.
It's been years. So I'd have to go back and check. I might just be completely talking out of my butt, you know.
I will say I only ever played a sci-fi game without powers in Deluxe. So I've never looked at the powers super closely in Deluxe.
The trappings were more like ways that you could modify the powers. So like one that sticks out is like taking the bolt power and turning it into bone dart, where it does D4s instead of D6s, but it like has bonus AP or like shatters on impact or something like that. Like, it was ways to truly customize the spells, but it was a lot of freedom that was easy to exploit. So I understand why they backed off on that, but I'll gobble that up.
It just sounds like modifiers to me.
Sort of. Okay. Modifiers are part of the replacement. Trappings worked differently. I mean, if I'm misspeaking, you know, Clint Black.
I just have to pull out one of my Deluxe books and
flip through it. This is stuff that I have recollections of, but I started working on Suede. I think the Aces got an early version of Suede to like study even before it went to Kickstarter. So like I've been using this for longer than it's been commercially available.
I see what you're saying though. Like, yeah, like every trapping. Well,
it gives you example ways to change the powers to make them function differently.
Yeah.
which modifiers now sort of do, especially the generic modifiers. But I liked the ability to like give yourself a penalty to your damage in exchange for other stuff. It was kind of like hindrances, but for your powers. But that's just me griping.
Yeah, I'll have to do a little more. The problem with that, like just reading through that, is it seems more limiting. Anyways, we're very off topic now. We're just talking about Savage Worlds design in general, which to be clear, I love talking about because one of the things I think we talked about this a little bit before the show is that I am not slow to be critical of Savage Worlds because I love the game and I want to see it get better. Which is why I say, hey, people, start making things like this because I think this is better. I think this, and I like Savage Worlds. I want the game to keep getting better. So we're gonna keep doing that. Monkey 7000077 says, what you really want to create is a boxcar children role-playing game. You just didn't know it. Didn't know it until now.
That might be a reference that's before my time, but I assume these children live on a train.
Do you not know Boxcar Children?
No.
You're older than I am. You should know this show, this book series.
I was a Goosebumps kid. I was.
Well, me too. I did Goosebumps as well. That was Goosebumps and Boxcar Children and Hardy Boys and.
I missed that whole wave. I went from Goosebumps to Stephen King.
Yes, the Boxcar Children is a series about these children who find a red boxcar out in the middle of woods and they live out of it essentially, and they solve mysteries along the way. I didn't read much of it. I'm
gonna take one out from the library.
Yeah,
and I'm gonna read a Boxcar Children because that does sound cute, and so I will read that. I'll
just like read the first one and you get a feel for it. Yeah. Yeah, it's a like now I think about it more. It's a really weird like series for children. Anyways, all right. Well, anyways, I hope you all had a good time. I think we're gonna close this up here. We are this is probably one of the longest streams I've ever done, which always happens when I talk with people about game design and stuff because I really love talking about it and hearing people's thoughts and everything. So anyways, I would love to. Oh, maybe we should just do maybe we should have a live stream where I just get a bunch of you game designers on, like you and Pete, and just just talk about Savage Worlds. And
I would love to have a little roundtable game designer discussion. That could be a hoot.
That sounds like a lot of fun. Pete, let me know. John Doom. Well, I've never had you on the show, but I think you should be involved too. So we'll have to do that sometime. That sounds like a lot of fun.
Sure.
All right. It'll be 4 hours long. Yeah, probably. It's fine. We'll do it on Saturday. All right. Well, thank you all for hanging out and talking with me this week. Next week, we will have. I have someone on next week. We will have Travis on to talk about Scarred Lands and go through that setting. So look forward to that. And see you all next week. And there's a new video dropping this Thursday. And preview. It's about Vermilion. It's a Vermilion review. So check it out.
I'm gonna watch that one because that cover art was beautiful.
Oh, the art is so good. It's so good. Anyways, have a good one, everyone. Stay savage.
Bye bye.